relates to most of what's been built in the city of Houston and some of the surrounding area is different than what you find in master plan communities. And I say that, and we can look to even First Colony. Many of the properties along Lexington Boulevard, there's 1,175 units right in that core area. Those properties have been well maintained. The homeowners association has the right to go in if they're not being maintained, to paint, to change wood or whatever it takes to keep those values up. And so consequently, I haven't seen deterioration of property values around them. Same thing is going on in the Woodlands. Right next to the Woodlands Market Square in Town Center, there are thousands of multifamily units within just about a mile radius, even closer than what we've shown here. That's some of the highest property values in the city. And the same thing is happening in City Center, next to Beltway and Interstate 10. There's 650 units right in this core area. The density of City Center, of the Woodlands, of even Lake Point is higher than what we're talking about on the land that we're putting our multifamily in the refinery district and the ballpark district. So with your email addresses, I'll be happy to send you as much information and factual data as we can and good examples of the kinds of quality that we're talking about. Because in master plan communities, multifamily development is different than what it is just in the general area.
Sharpstown was the first master plan community. Do you see what happened in Sharpstown now? It's Mexico.
Well, all I can tell you is let's look at First Colony, let's look at Siegel Ranch,
They had to
and Keywood, and
apartments. This is what
well,
this was.
it's a different environment in a master plan community. And in my nomenclature, I don't consider Sharpstown a plan community like what we create and what we do. Well,
We just say it's too much. Too much.
well, I understand.
What's your timeline on this? What's the point of no return where further discussions become moot?
Does this meet the current development code as far as the number of apartments? Does that meet Sugarland's current development code? Because don't they have a limit on the number of units that you can build and a radius within which they can be built?
I'm not aware of that.
You're not aware of it?
No,
You're not.
I know what you're talking about. I'm not aware of that being codified.
It is a code.
Yeah,
The
that's
city
correct.
of Sugar Land does have a cap on the number of units that can be built within a specific radius or area
Right.
under the apartment zoning districts. They're not proposing to come in and seek apartment zoning and build under that section of the development code. Does this mean the development code for the city? That is something that the city council is going to decide as this goes through the PD process. The city council is going to establish the development code for this project and determine how many units of what type will be developed in this project. Shay and Doug,
So right now
are talking about
Right now, if it wasn't within a PD, it would not comply with the city development code?
If it were not within a PD,
Yeah.
it would not comply with the development code as it is proposed.
So basically, the city of Sugar Land has a different...
City council approves.
Excuse me?
A PD by definition is anything city council approves.
Right. But I think the city set those guidelines in order to avoid having so many units built by developers coming in, and that there was a reason behind that.
They've set those guidelines to put a cap on the number of units that can be built under the city's minimum standards for apartments and apartment zoning districts. And development that has occurred since those guidelines were set have complied with that. We have a lot of apartments in town in First Colony that preceded those guidelines. There's some projects that Doug mentioned earlier preceded those projects.
Well, I don't think those were not in the city limits when they were built, correct?
They ran into the
Right.
What you're seeing tonight is what is being proposed by these developers. I don't think they're going to develop the apartments themselves. I think they develop land. They're trying to determine through a process what can be built on that land. But this is what they propose. what will actually be allowed to be built on this land will be decided by the city council after they receive a recommendation from planning and zoning commission. So, in part, we're finding out what the rules will be for this property.
So really, the residents of Sugar Land do have a pretty big voice in this at this point. Because the presentation seems to be,
Everything that has preceded this point, at this point, and as this property goes through the entire development process, absolutely, the residents of Sugar Land have a significant voice in what occurs.
It is a zoning change we're requesting, it's just a plan development zoning, and Drew mentioned earlier that it's a two-step process. In the first step, we'll go through P&Z and through council, there'll be public hearings, public input, that's why we're having this meeting here. We'll have, as we go through our final development plans, we'll have other meetings to show more detail, like Doug was mentioning, as we get more time and understand the architecture, what it's going to look like, and how it's integrated into the development. But somebody mentioned earlier, and I didn't answer his question about point of no return. We're just starting the process, and we've got several meetings with P&Z, has to go through P&Z and has to go through council on the plan development, the general development plan. And then on the final plan, there's another process that goes through as well. So there's plenty of opportunity for public input, not just